Be 2002. 19-year-old directionless Spurg still living with mom. She's got money. Buys house out in the sticks. 2-story with basement. 3-car garage. Not bad. Move in. Things are cool at first. Begin setting up my room upstairs. Discover crawl space entry for attic. Decide to investigate. Open up. Crawl in. Was a little door about 2.5 by 4 feet. Tiny window I couldn't find but could see from outside illuminating room. Runs full length of the house, north to south. East wall is floor to ceiling covered in a dry erase board, loaded with drawings, clearly made by children with what appeared to be permanent markers. No idea how old the drawings are. Best guess is 2 or 3 kids. Normal stuff. Cars, family, rocket ships, each other, mom and dad, and one weird figure, always drawn completely black, short legs, long arms, long hair, no face, just a black circle. Going from north to south, figure becomes more common, larger, more prominent, closer to the family, but always behind. Always the same features, though. Yeah, this isn't creepy or anything, .jpg. Aside from that wall, room is 100% bare, just a layer of dust. Leave, seal it up, put dresser in front of it, play vidya, and try to forget. Middle of second night, hear a weird sound. From upstairs, I crashed on the couch watching TV. Sounds like something bouncing and rolling from north to south on second floor, on hardwood. Only hardwood floor upstairs is crawl space. For about 3 hours, it goes north to south, then south to north, then back, then stops. Go to sleep anyway. Convince myself it's the wood settling with new weight on it because I'm a skeptic. Night 3, hear it again with something else accompanying it. My ears have to be lying to me, .gif. It's feet. Bare feet. Small ones. Running after the bouncing sound that I now realize I recognize as one of those ultra bouncy rubber super balls. Next morning, open crawl space to investigate. There are footprints in the dust layer, not even half the size of my size 13 boots that I was wearing when I was in here yesterday. But only one set, moving north to south, then south to north. Basically a perfect loop. Only other tracks are mine. My face when. Close up crawl space, put dresser back, play vidya, hear bouncing noise, start again. Hear feet again. 2 sets now. Second set sounds heavier. Larger person. Close to my size. 6 foot even. 170 pounds at the time. Fast. Chasing after smaller feet. Same pattern. North to south. South to north. Repeat. Super Bowl noise is firmer now, like it's being thrown instead of just bounce rolled. Put in earbuds. Jam to OG Metallica. Ignore. Tell mom when she gets home from work. She's naturally skeptical too. Next night, nothing happens. No sounds. Nothing. Starts up at the crack of dawn. 3rd set of feet. Lighter than second, accompanying the first. Try to ignore. Sound stop. Resume vidya on living room TV. Suddenly hear something coming down the stairs. Bouncing. Cat decides this is an excellent time to suddenly become completely insane, poofs out to the size of a basketball and begins growling and hissing at the stairs. A super ball comes bouncing down the stairs, and I hear tiny footsteps run away from the top of the stairwell. Again, my face went. Mid-July in Iowa. Nearly 95 degrees out. AC is off because broken. Massive cold draft now coming from upstairs. Cat goes off to the porch, yowling and screaming like he's being eaten. Pick up and stare at Superball. Looks really old. Chunks missing out of it. Take outside. Throw in dumpster. That night, no sounds. Nothing. Garbage pickup the next day. Silence for a week. Sounds start again one night. All 3 sets of feet. Superball. Officially freaked, but more angry. Mom hears them too. Go upstairs, tear open crawl space, footprints everywhere in dust. 3 distinct sets of little kid footprints, and 1 set that looks like Shaq has been in our attic. Barefoot, 4 toes, missing pinky toe. Larger than my boot. Way too spoopy for me. Seal crawl space. Spend 20 minutes caulking the door shut to make sure it stays that way. Going back downstairs, hear footsteps behind me running across the hall. Look back. The super ball is at the top of the stairs. My face when. Slowly back downstairs. Sounds start again about 30 seconds after I sat down, but quieter. Only the lighter feet and ball. Decide to check something. Turn on upstairs light that illuminates top of the stairs. My face when the ball is gone. Go stay with my aunt for a week because F this. Mom says noises stopped after I left. Come back. They start within 5 minutes of me getting home and getting my stuff unpacked from aunt's. Hear loud thud from crawlspace door. Yeah, no, I'm not opening that. Then hear ball bouncing off wall at face height. Over and over. Hear it hit the wall, then the floor, then pause and repeat. Ballsy moment, I say, hey, play quieter, please. Sounds stop dead. And then nothing for 3 days. Morning of last day, sounds start again. Just the ball, no feet. Then silence. Suddenly hear bouncing noise again, but now it's coming down the stairs and hitting the walls on the way down. But nothing is coming down the stairs. Happens over and over for probably an hour. Remember this next part vividly. Playing in TFT singles weekend tourney. Gimme that fell guard. Game starts. Hear massive crash from upstairs. Sounds like crap is flying everywhere. Then the bouncing. Power an entire house browns out for 2 to 3 seconds. So much for the tourney. Head for the stairs, scared as hell. The ball is at the bottom of the stairs to greet me like, hello, mortal plaything. Pick it up. Go upstairs. My dresser is in pieces, and the door to the crawl space is knocked off its hinges. Room is easily 15 feet across, and there are pieces of my dresser and clothes against far wall. My face when. Sprint downstairs, outside, hurl ball into field behind home, turn around to go back inside. Window to crawl space in plain view. Completely black. Couldn't make out finer details because nearsighted. Like a 3D shadow blocking out the window. Watch as it slowly moves away from the window. Find my nuts. Head back inside. Cleaning up dresser. Packing my crap because I'd rather live with my aunt than this. Have to be right by crawl space entrance for this. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Ball rolls out of crawl space like it shouldn't be 60 yards deep in the field I just threw it into. Nope, Avi. Hear breathing in crawl space. Grab my stuff. Out. Force Mom to leave with me. Take Cat. Go to Aunt's. We go back next day to finish getting stuff and out. Why are there fire trucks? Biz. Fire in upstairs. My room and crawl space destroyed. Investigator blames faulty electric. Get crap. Out. Never return. Next person that bought the land tore the house down after 2 months. Be me, on trip through western South Carolina with wife. Last night of trip and we're staying at some state park. Campsite along a creek a few miles into the park. Get to park later than expected. Probably only an hour and a half of sunlight left. Not worried. Both of us are experienced backpackers and we should be able to get there just about when it gets dark. Stop by and talk to Ranger to get parking pass. Kind of weird middle-aged dude. He seems oddly worried about us starting so late, but is moving slow as hell getting us the pass. States several times that he leaves at 9 and has to shut the gate for the night then. Okay, whatever. Finally get the parking pass. It's dated for us leaving several days later, despite us only reserving site for one night. Almost correct him, but I want to hurry up and get going, so figure whatever and let it slide. Then proceeds to tell us that the site is not where I'd thought it was. Thought the site was along the main trail. Site 15, PIC related. He says we have to cross the stream and take the red trail to get to it. Okay, he's the ranger and I'm just some guy. Can't tell from the map anyway. Head out. See a few people at closer campsites, but none after a mile or so. Getting dark as we turn off main trail onto orange and then red trail. Trail quality immediately drops. End up basically bushwhacking through underbrush halfway to campsite. Moving slowly. Sun has set behind mountains now. See no signs of campsite before hours. Consult map. We have to be where we think we are. Decide to keep going and look for sight. Hit unmistakable turn and trail as it goes up a mountain. Should have passed 2 campsites by now, but no sign of anything at all. Wife is kind of freaked out. Agree that Ranger definitely told us to take this trail. Start to think about how we didn't tell anyone we were going to be at this park. Wife says what we're both thinking. Weird Ranger dude straight up lied to us about sight. Think about how he dated us leaving several days from now. Crap. Pitch black by this point. Drizzling. No moon. Discuss just setting up camp here. Decide against it. Obviously, first place he'd come to murder us. Head back to main trail. Creeped out the whole way. Have hiked twice the distance we should have at this point. Finally make it back to main trail. 2 options. Head back to truck or continue down trail to where campsite should be. Almost head to truck and leave. Remember, he said gate would be locked till morning. Decide we're overreacting. Probably just a new ranger or something. Head to site. Finally get there hours after we should have. No sign of life anywhere. Only light is from crappy headlamps we had. Both of us still creeped out. It's dead silent. No longer drizzling, but it's that type of heavy air where everything feels super closed in and any sounds seem to get sucked up into nothing. Set up tent, hang bear bag. Wife starts cooking. Sitting around crappy stove, and both of us hear something. Sounds like someone walking off the main path down towards our campsite. Probably 25 yards away through brush. Crap, here we go. I stand up and draw my carry piece. Shine crappy headlamp up trail. Can't see anything. Sounds stop. Not sure what to do, so I start whistling like some hillbilly. Footsteps start again, this time seeming to go back the way they came. Stand there for a few minutes. No more sounds from trail. Eventually get around to eating and then crawl into tent. Lay there with one hand on my gun all night. Hightail it out of there at first light the next morning. Wife still thinks that we were almost murdered that night. Never looked down on me concealed carrying again. I'm still not sure if it was just a dumb ranger and then some other poor schmuck on the trail I freaked out, or if he really was trying to mess with us. Late shift at call center. Just me and one other guy in the building. He takes a call that sounds like an old person who stayed up late and figured this would be the time to figure out their new laptop. While he's desperately trying to explain that we just support her internet connection, not her devices, I get that annoying beep in my ear that tells me someone is on the line. I give the usual opening line. "Thanks for calling. This is Anon. Can I get your name and phone number?" He asks, "Hello?" Crap, my mic is muted. No, it isn't. "Hello?" I ask back, briefly thinking about how odd it is that this is one of the very few questions that is appropriately responded to with the exact same question. He asks if this is company I work for. I say yes, give the line again. "Thanks for calling," etc. "How can I help you?" He says none of his electronics are working and he thinks it's the internet. Ask for his house phone. Gives an area code I don't recognize. Type it in anyways because who am I to question a customer this early in the call? Nothing. Ask for his name as he's likely messed up the number. He gives me his name. I do the slow search by name function. Ask about troubleshooting while it comes up. He says he doesn't know where his modem is because he can't leave his room. I ask, what does he mean? He says his door won't open, but the one time it did, there was nothing but blackness. I only now am noticing how pronounced the static on the line was. I originally thought it to be a filtering issue with the phones and DSL line, which is a common occurrence, but the static was much more front and center. Search finishes. Nothing. Google his area code. Texas. We only support in Saskatchewan, Canada. He asks if I know why his family is gone. I ask him where he lives. Gives me a town in Texas. Ask him what the date is, claiming it's a security question. He says it's November 2011. It was August 2012. Coworker has finished his call at this point and clocked out as it was a couple minutes to midnight, which was the end of our shift. He's at my desk making a face that says, "Why did you ask what the date was, and why do you look like someone crapped in your ear?" I asked the guy on the other line when his internet stopped working. He says he thinks someone unplugged something because someone entered his house and then the blackness came and nothing was working. After he says this, the line goes dead. I explain to my coworker what just happened. He says to write down my ticket number and see if this guy calls back under the same number or what. So I write it down, and the guy's name as well, so I remember what the ticket was about. Jorge Vargas. Ask my supervisor to pull up the call, as they're all recorded the next shift I have. She finds it. We listen to it at lunch. The call comes in. There's no caller ID. Everything is just like it happened that night, except for one key detail. I'm the only one talking. The other side of the line is dead air, no static or anything. My supervisor is really good-natured and has a good sense of humor and asks if this was a prank. Did I have someone call in from an unlisted number? Try to convince her otherwise. Coworker later vouches that I was really scared looking. Only coworker believes me, really. Google search Jorge Vargas and get an actor, append Texas to the end, and find this. Turns out he actually lived in Texas City, and the town name he gave me, Amburn, was the street. By all means, I'll let you in on another detail that I felt compelled to leave out last night, as I was already giving myself the shakes retelling that story. I usually have a pretty active imagination, and if it was any other call, I would have attributed it to said imagination, but I could swear I heard other voices in the static. I tell myself it was either the TVs we have set up or the one in the break room, but the TVs in the call area are usually muted for obvious reasons, and the break room TV is never on. Coworker agreed to close up the building and let me go home after the call, so I kind of buggered out of there quick. Headline from the Houston Chronicle. Second man gets life in prison for role in 2011 double slaying. Police discovered the bodies of Jorge Vargas Jr., 33, and his daughter Miranda Vargas inside their house in the 700 block of Amburn, November 21st, 2011, in Texas City. I think I found a fake town last year, like Truman Show fake. Be me, last summer, cross-country road trip, hitting up some national parks in central/southern Utah. It's getting late, like 10 p.m., been driving since 6-ish. It's dark, no moon, can only see what's lit up by my headlights. Decide to find some place to rest for the night at next exit. See a town off in the distance. Turn off on only pull-off I've seen for over an hour heading towards town. Pull-off is unmarked and unlit, not on car GPS, no cell service. Town is directly ahead, though. Keep going. Road turns to dirt road and is about 5 miles until it turns to pavement again, right at the town where businesses and houses started showing up. Immediately, town strikes me as weird. Nobody is on the streets. No cars on the streets or in the businesses' parking lots. Jazz music is being pumped through the streets for some reason. Not loudly, but loud enough to hear. This town that looked to be about 7 blocks wide from some miles out, has every major fast food chain I've heard of and 7 hotels on the main street. Still, no cell service. Still not on car GPS. Go to get food. KFC was fully illuminated and unlocked. Nobody there. Same thing with Jack in the Box. McDonald's has a cashier and cook when I go there. Both look annoyed. Take my order. Give me distinctly non-McDonald's nuggets and fries. Leave. Start going to get a bed for the night. Hampton Inn. Empty parking lot. Third annoyed-looking person informs me they're all booked up. La Quinta. Person I'm now convinced was the cook at McDonald's is behind the check-in counter. Also empty parking lot. Also fully booked. Holiday Inn Express. Empty parking lot. Person that was clearly the cashier at McDonald's is behind the check-in counter. Surprisingly, they have rooms. Ask him if he's the guy from McDonald's. No. That's my brother. Screw it. Good enough for me. Get to room. Wi-Fi exists, but nothing loads. Shower. Crash. Wake up next day. No breakfast in lobby. No other guests. McDonald's guy still there for checkout. Ask him how to get out of town. Same road you came in on. Head to McDonald's to get something to eat. Town is still playing smooth jazz. Still nobody on the street. Order at drive-thru. Drive-thru lady is definitely lady from the Hampton Inn. Ordered a McGriddle and a black coffee. She hands me a microwave English muffin sandwich and what I assume to be some kind of instant coffee. Place is way too weird to stay and argue. Heading down the only road in and out of town. Maybe 3 miles onto the 5-mile dirt road. Notice big metal wire fence on both sides of the road in the desert. Meet on the road in a big motorized gate that is open. Soon as I pass through, gate starts closing. Get back onto road. Finally get onto 62? That's not right. I could have sworn I was on 89 when I decided to pull off, and there's mountains in between. Finally get cell service. Nothing matches description of town. None of the charges ever show up on my card. I've told some people, and one suggested it was Richfield, but I know I was south of there, and, they would have actually charged me for stuff. Three days ago, my last living grandparent, my mother's father, passed away at the age of 89. He was a World War II veteran, and my mom tells me that after returning home from the Navy, he was never quite the same. In fact, he was pretty paranoid about nearly everything. I was never really allowed to stay at his house. In 1965, his wife died suddenly with no real explanation. My mother tells me that my grandfather became extremely fearful of a nuclear war with the communists and that he started to dig a bomb shelter out of the rock and limestone on his land. I had never seen the bomb shelter until today, when the family was going through my grandfather's belongings. Pig-related, it's the entrance. I had only ever asked my grandfather about his hand-dug cave one time in my life, which was when I was about 16 or so when we got together for Christmas. He didn't really seem to want to talk about it. He just told me never to go there because it's just a damned... What the word in the blank was, I've never been able to figure out. No amount of Googling helped me determine what he said. All I know is it sounded like, "Ah, see you air," The way he said it was creepy enough that I never asked about it again. This picture is a view back towards the door after you go down some steps. I hadn't even thought about the shelter since then until today, when my mother asked me to go and check it out and see if I could find anything worth putting into the estate sale. To be honest, I was pretty excited. I thought maybe I'd find old gas masks, non-perishable food items from the 60s, maybe even some forms of entertainment he had planned to use to keep the family busy in the event of an attack. This picture is the first hallway, which curves off to the right at the end. The first thing I found was this rudimentary toilet. Of course, time wasn't kind to it, so there wasn't much left. It had obviously been in disrepair for years. I just snapped a picture and kept going, although I did have to admire the work that had to have gone into chipping away at the rock, one heave at a time. But further down the hallway, I came to nothing more than a bunch of old rusted garbage on the floor. I instantly felt my heart sink because I had such high hopes for what this exploration would yield. It was beginning to look like my grandfather had just given up at some point on his dream of crafting a shelter. Pick related. It's the garbage. But you'll notice that in the previous picture, the hallway curves off to the left. I was expecting to hit a flat wall of rock, but instead, I found a huge iron door that was padlocked shut. Fortunately for me, it had become rusted to all hell, so I was actually able to just pick up a decent-sized rock off the floor and hit the padlock until it busted the entire loop that it went through. Opening the door was another story, though. It was extremely heavy and had become rusted shut over the years. I found a shovel back in the garbage heap and used all my strength to force it open with a lever action. Pick related. It's the view after I got the darn thing open. The only thing back here was a hallway that did abruptly end where he had stopped digging, but there was a doorway off to the right. I went through the doorway, and inside this room looked more like a cavern than a bomb shelter. As I looked around, I noticed this carving in the stone. At first I thought, oh, no big deal. Maybe he just came back here to pray or something. But that's when I started to notice that there were more carvings. Suddenly, I see this face carved in the rock. There were faces everywhere. Seriously, it was as though there were a bunch of ghostly faces staring you down in that room. Pick related. And here's another example. I noticed that while the previous ones appeared to be a soft female face, this one was an angry male face. And there was really quite a few of them. I don't know, probably 6 or 7. They were all carved into the walls as though they were facing that cross carving, worshipping it or something. And then I saw this one. Unlike every single other carving in this room, which were faces, this one was clearly meant to be a skull. It seemed so out of place, since I felt that the rest of the room had religious connotations to it. Why was there a skull? Well, I found out soon enough. I happened to look down at the ground below the skull carving, and there, sitting in a bunch of concrete rubble, was a bone. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just a Nancy. This was not a deer bone. This was clearly a human bone. My heart was pounding out of my chest. As I started to look more closely, I saw more bones coming out of the concrete, as though human remains had been dumped in a batch of quick-dry cement or something. Then, I could have sworn I heard a quiet laugh from the corner of the room, and I bolted. I ran out of that room like the devil was chasing me. I ran all the way out of the shelter, all the way back to the house. An ossuary is a chest, building, well, or site made to serve as the final resting place of human skeletal remains. I wouldn't pronounce it as ossuaire, but it could plausibly be pronounced something like that in some accents and dialects of English. Okay, that took a long time to type out, and someone just knocked at the door. Keep this thread bumped. No more updates were available after this.